Okay, sharing some quiet time with you. I started out in a church where if you were having some problems, they would say, "Hey, have you had a serious quiet time for the past 3 days?" And if the person said no, they're like, "Okay, take 3 days and make sure that you schedule a serious 1 hour quiet time with God for 3 days in a row, and then come back and we'll sit down and talk about the problem." And the solutions to the problem came in the prayer, the study of the scripture. Today, this morning, morning prayer will be not recorded, but this shared recording is for your benefit. Again, I didn't ask to be born to two seminary students. I did not ask to be born to two people who served the poor in the dangerous streets of Camden and Philadelphia. So I'm used to facing danger a little bit more than a lot of people are. And I'm used to having the principles of Scripture in people's hearts. Not just the quoting of Scripture, but the principles of Scripture in people's hearts and being followed. Okay, I did a study today on friends. Grab a pen. Pause this thing. Grab a pen and a paper. Grab a pen. Get your journal book. Did a study on friends this morning. The most important thing, the declaration of the gospel, is God has come among us in human form and he has called us friends. That's John 15:15. If you look up friends in your concordance or Bible search, Jesus references to friends. You can read every place where he refers to friends. I have called you friends. John 15:15. Now, we are going to take this lovely Bible in its lovely holder that was stitched by Deborah Newman. This is so helpful every time I open this thing. This little Bible that fits in a cargo pocket gets kept safe by this wonderful soft leather stitched cover, and it's being preserved and not beat up because I run a hard life. Okay, today we got some scripture. Interesting. 2nd Esdras. Now for you, this might be difficult. I work with an NRSV. An NRSV has every single one of the sets of scriptures that were generally used by the extended church. The Septuagint, if you don't understand the Septuagint and the Apocrypha, you got to do a little bit of study. But the Septuagint Bible was the Bible of Jesus and the apostles. And it had a handful of books in it that were removed by the Jews after Jesus after the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Okay, so 2nd Esdras 12, starting in verse 10. Since you might not have 2nd Esdras, I'm going to read it to you. He said to me, "This is the interpretation of the vision that you have seen. The eagle that you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth kingdom that appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. But it was not explained to him as I now explain it to you, or have explained it. The days are coming when a kingdom shall rise on earth, and it shall be more terrifying than all the kingdoms that have been before it. And 12 kings shall reign in it, one after another. But the second that is to reign shall hold sway for a longer time than any other one of the 12. The second will be in power for the longest of any in the 12. This is the interpretation of the 12 wings that you saw. As for you hearing a voice that spoke, coming not from the eagle's heads, but from the midst of its body, this is the interpretation. In the midst of time of that kingdom, great struggles shall arise, and it shall be in danger of falling. this great kingdom shall be in danger of falling. Nevertheless, it shall not fall then, but shall regain its former power. As for your seeing 8 little wings clinging to the wings of the eagle, this is the interpretation. 8 kings shall arise in it, whose time shall be short, and their years swift. 2 of them shall perish. When the middle of its time draws near, and 4 shall be kept for the time when the end approaches, but 2 shall be kept until the end. As for your seeing 3 heads at rest, this is the interpretation. In the last days the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they shall renew many things in it, and shall rule the earth and its inhabitants more oppressively than all who were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, because it is they who shall sum up his wickedness and perform his last actions. 3 kings. Ooh, 3 kings. What if that's Vatican and City of London and Washington, D.C.? In its last days, the Most High will raise up 3 kings, and they shall renew many things in it, and shall rule the earth and its inhabitants more oppressively than all who were before them. Therefore they are called the heads of the eagle, because it is they who shall sum up his wickedness and perform his last actions. Last actions performed by 3 kings. Last actions performed by 3 kings. As for your seeing that the large head disappeared, one of the kings shall die in his bed, but in agonies. But as for the 2 who remained, the sword shall devour them. For the sword of one shall devour him who was with him, but he shall also fall by the sword in the last days. As for your seeing 2 little wings passing over to the head, which was on the right side, this is the interpretation. It is these whom the Most High has kept for the eagle's end. This was the reign which was brief and full of tumult, as you have seen. And as for the lion who you saw rousing up out of the forest and roaring and speaking to the eagle and reproving him for his unrighteousness, and as for all his words that you have heard, this is the Messiah whom the Most High has kept until the end of days. What does Messiah do? He rouses up out of the forest, and he roars, and he speaks to the eagle. What is the symbol of the eagle? The United States of America. He speaks to the eagle and reproves him for his unrighteousness, and as for all his words that you have heard. This is the Messiah whom the Most High has kept until the end of days, who will arise from the offspring of David. And he will come and speak with them. He will denounce them for their ungodliness and for their wickedness, and will display before them their contemptuous dealings. For first he will bring them alive before his judgment seat. And when he has reproved them, he will destroy them. But in mercy he will set free the remnant of my people, those who have been saved throughout my borders, and he will make them joyful until the end comes, the day of judgment, of which I spoke to you at the beginning. This is the dream that you saw, and this is its interpretation. And you alone were worthy to learn this secret of the Most High. Therefore write all these things that you have seen in a book, put it in a hidden place, and you shall teach them to the wise among your people, whose hearts you know are able to comprehend and keep these secrets. But as for you, wait here 7 days more, so that you may be shown whatever it pleases the Most High to show you. Then he left me. Then he left me. Who's he? He said to me, this must be an angelic visit. Okay, I'm going to read on. This is interesting. The people come to Ezra. Ezra is the wonderful reformer. When all the people heard that the 7 days were past, and I, Ezra, had not returned to the city, they all gathered together from the least to the greatest, and came to me, and spoke to me, saying, How have we offended you? And what harm have we done to you, that you have forsaken us to sit in this place? For all of the prophets, you alone are left to us, like a cluster of grapes. What person is your prophet? Who is your truth speaker? Who is getting messages from heaven to guide you, and instruction and good leadership to you? Who is your truth speaker? For all the prophets, you alone are left to us, like a cluster of grapes from the vintage. And you are like a lamp in a dark place, and you are like a haven for a ship saved from a storm. Are not the disasters that have befallen us enough? Therefore, if you forsake us, if you go away and don't help us, how much better it would have been if we had also been consumed in the burning of Zion. For we are no better than those who died there. And they cried out with a loud voice, and they were crying. Then I answered them and said, they were saying, Why did you go away, Ezra? Where were you? What are you doing? Then I answered them and said, Take courage, O Israel, and do not be sorrowful, O house of Jacob. For the Most High has you in remembrance, and the Mighty One has not forgotten you in your struggle. As for me, I have neither forsaken you nor withdrawn from you, but I have come to this place to pray on account of the desolation of Zion, and to seek mercy on account of the humiliation of our sanctuary. Our sanctuary is the teachings of Christ that have been broken down and forgotten. Now go to your homes, every one of you, and after these days I will come to you. So the people went into the city as I told them to do. But I sat in the field 7 days, as the angel had commanded me, and I ate only of the flowers of the field. And my food was of plants during those days. Okay, that is 2nd Ezra chapter 12. I didn't expect one passage. I was expecting a handful of passages. Very interesting. The parallel, just truth speakers and apostles and Jesus. The people are always saying, Where were you? Where were you? Everybody's looking for you. Nobody's looking for me. But still, I do my best to speak and give to whoever might be listening. Peace be with you today. Hello, internet friends. Hello, close friends far and near. Please remember, in the family honesty camp, there's 3 types of people. 1, people on the outside of the beautiful friendship with Lifeguard that just, they haven't discovered how delightful the friendship with our Lifeguard and our strongest spirit is. Oh my gosh, the comfort, the guidance, the insight. I mean, it helps you understand that this world is really deadly and death is your lot. You're going to die. It's just a matter of you choosing how. And well, overall, Elohim chooses how. So number 1, you're either an outsider or you're in fellowship. You're a person who has a measure of declaration, of belief in Yehoshua Adonai, the visit of God, and the Spirit of God that rescued 3 to 12 million people that were in slavery for 400 years. Outsiders, in fellowship, and in communion. Remember, Jesus had the 3 disciples, the 12 disciples, the 70 disciples, and the multitude of disciples. But at a certain point, only 3 came with him. 3 he was in true communion with. Peter, James, and John. And where did they go? That's 4 guys. Jesus, Peter, James, and John. Jesus, Peter, James, and John. That's why right now there are 4 prayer shawls in my house. I only have 4 right now. Peter, Jesus, Peter, James, and John. And those Peter, James, and John went to the raising of Jairus' daughter from the dead, the transfiguration, and the prayer in Gethsemane. Those are the 3 times that it said Jesus took the 3 with him. So there are not very many people who are going to be in communion with Yehoshua. And with you. So you need to be in communion with people, because that's where your atonement for sin continues. You're saved by being dunked in water and getting under conviction, but the salvation and the shalom is maintained by being in communion with friends of various types who are looking at one another's lives and challenging one another to righteousness. So, who will be in communion? That's the question.